Alrighty, I apologize, guys. My camera stopped recording on number 7. So I finished out my slope. So I have 0 minus 3, which gives me negative 3. And then I would have negative 2 minus 0, which would give me negative 2. Okay, I know a negative over a negative just cancels to be a positive. So I get 3 over 2. You could have also plugged in the calculator here and gotten 3 over 2. Okay, I would suggest just plugging in the calculator. That way there's no issues with it. So then from there it asks for point slope form. So I plugged in my y1, which was 3, plugged in my slope, which was 3/2, and then I plugged in my x1, which was 0. So now I have it in point slope form, and I am done with number 7. Okay, plug that in, and so now I am done. It asks for point slope form. Alright, so now I've got to work on the next page. Here we go. Alright, here we go. Number 8 says, in order to join a dancing club, there's a startup fee and a $10 monthly fee. For 6 months of membership, the cost is $90. Okay, so my slope here is going to be 10. Okay, $10. And then it says for 6 months of membership, the cost is $90. Okay, so I know that if I'm talking about my slope, which is change in y, over change in x, okay, and it's talking about the months, all right, which I know is going to be my x there, but the cost is 90, okay. The reason I also know it's months is my x is because if you look at the slope, it says the cost per month, okay, $10 monthly, so that means cost per month. So I have cost all over the number of months. All right. So now I have the 6 months and $90. So that is a point that they have now given me. That is an ordered pair. So my x we just said is the number of months. So it's going to be 6, comma, our cost, which it says is 90. I now have x1 and y1. All right. So part A says, write an equation in point slope form modeling the situation where C, the total cost, is a function of D, the number of months. All right, so point slope form is written right here. Now I'm just going to plug that in. I have y minus y1, which we said was 90, equals my m, which it tells us is 10, and I have x minus 6. Okay, that is point slope form. So we are done. Plug in the information that was given to us. All right. On part B, it says write the equation in slope-intercept form. So now I've got to take this and move things over. So I have y minus 90 equals m, which was 10, and then x minus 6. I'm going to use that equation that we already wrote to get to the next one. So I know that I've got to distribute first. So I distribute this over. So I get y minus 90 equals 10 times x, which is 10x. Then I have 10 times a negative 6, which is negative 60. Okay, remember, plug that into your calculator if you're not sure. Now I know in order to have slope-intercept form, I have to have y equals all by itself. So right now I have y minus 90 equals. So I've got to get rid of that minus 90. In order to get rid of a minus 90, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 90 to each side. So I end up getting y equals 10x, and then a negative 60 plus 90 is going to give me a plus 30 there. I now have slope-intercept form. Which now means I'm done with part B. All right, part C says identify the y-intercept and state its meaning. Okay, so I know it's y equals mx plus b. Okay, so b is going to be a positive 30 in this case. Okay, and what does that positive 30 represent? So if I know I'm talking about an intercept, that's always my initial value or starting point, okay? So if we're talking about a dancing club here, okay, something that you join and it has a startup fee, I know that this $30 is going to be that initial fee, which means it's going to represent our startup fee. So b equals a positive 30 is going to be the startup fee. Because I know that my y-intercept is always the initial cost or the startup fee or something along those lines. All right. So startup fee is what it told us. That means this 30 is going to represent the startup fee. So even if I don't attend a single month and I just join the club, I pay $30. Okay. So now let's go ahead and work on part D. It says state the domain and range assuming the maximum contract is for 12 months. So for my domain, which I know is the number of months, okay, I know I could go 0 months, okay. I can't go really half a month. The clubs, such as gyms and dancing clubs, they don't do half of months, so I have only whole numbers. So I have 1 month, 2 months, and it says all the way up till 12, I'm sorry. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I know I could pay for 0 months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, those are the options for my dancing club. So now I've got to be able to find the range. So you could either take all of these values and plug them into this equation and solve for them. Okay, so I could plug in my 0 for x. So I'd get 10 times 0, which would be 0, plus 30, which would give me 30. Okay, that would be one way to do it, is plug all these in and do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and suggest using your calculator. So I'm going to go to y equals, because I have y equals right here. So I'll go to y equals. I have 10x plus 30. Okay, so I'm plugging in that equation that we just wrote. Now I'm going to hit second table, and now I'm going to look at these values. So at 0, it is 30, okay, which is what we already wrote. At 1, it is 40. At 2, it is 50. At 3, it is 60. Okay, and you can see I'm going along with these values I have above. 4 is 70. 5 is a number in another room a little bit. 5 is 80. 6, 90. I gotta keep going. 7 is 100. 8 is 110. 9 is 120. 10 is 130. 11 is 140. And then I get to 12, which is the maximum contract I can have, which is 150. So that is going to be my range there. Okay, I can't spend more than $150 for this particular dance club for that 1 year. Okay, so if I joined and did all 12 months, it would cost me $150. All right, and we used our table to show us that. All right, but I stop at 12 because that's my maximum contract there. Okay, so domain and range is something we did towards the beginning of the year. All right. So E says, what would happen if the startup fee was waived? Okay, so if I didn't have to pay this extra $30, all right, and this went away, it would just be $10 for every single month. All right, so if you didn't have to pay that $30, you would only pay $10 per month, which would mean, so every range value we wrote, okay, so if I only paid $10 a month, it wouldn't be $30 at 0 months, it would be 0. At 1 month, it would be $10. At 2 months, it would be 20. So that means all of this is decreasing by 30. So every range value in part 8D would decrease by $30. Okay, and that would be my answer there. You'd only pay $10 a month, so every range value would decrease by $30. So it'd be 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. Okay, all the way up to 120 there. All right. So if there was no startup fee for 12 months, you'd only pay $120. All right. So that's all of number 8. Now let's go and look at number 9. Number 9 says the amount of water in the tub is given by y equals, because remember q of x just is the same thing as y, so y equals 75 minus x, where q is the amount of water in quarts and x is the number of minutes since the tub was filled. Okay, so I'm going to take the information given to me. So I'm going to write my y-intercept first, which is a positive 75, because I know that it's the number without an x, which is this number right here. So I have a positive 75. And then my slope is going to be what's in front of that x there, all right, which is going to be a -1. So I have -1 over 1, okay? And I've got to kind of look at this problem. It says the water in quarts, okay, which is going to be Q, which is going to be my y here in this case. So if I have, you know, talking about my slope, the y value would be quarts, which goes on top, okay? Y always goes on top when we're talking about slope. And then x is the number of minutes, so it's going to be over the number of minutes. All right, so it says describe what the function represents, okay? So, to me, this tells me that the tub, that's our y-intercept is always our initial value or starting point, okay? So it tells me that the tub is going to have 75 quarts, and then if I kind of break down my slope here, I'm losing 1 quart every 1 minute, okay? So just breaking down that information it gives you. So the tub starts with 75 quarts and loses, because my slope is negative, and loses water at a rate, because I know slope is a rate, of 1 quart per 1 minute. Alright, so that's what it is going to be telling us there. Now let's go ahead and look at number 10. Alright, it says g of x, which is just y, remember, is the linear parent function of f of x, which is just y equals x, all right? So after a vertical shift down of 4 units, write the new equation, fill in the table, and then draw the graph, okay? So f of y equals x, because remember we can just call this y equals x is already graphed for us, okay? My y-intercept is 0, I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. That is already graphed for us. So now I've got to evaluate the information given to us. So it says I'm just going to shift down 4 units. So I go down 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So it doesn't tell me anything about my slope being different. It just says a shift down. So my slope should still be 1 over 1. So I go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Conversely, here I'll go down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, all right, in order to draw my line. So now let's go ahead and look at that. So I've now got to find a straight edge, which I'm still going to keep using my Whataburger tint from a class of 2018. All right, there's my new line there, okay? So I now have my new line, all right? So at 0, okay, it was at -4. At x equals 1, it was at -3. And at 2, it was at -2. Okay, I'm writing in those points that I now have. Now, the last thing I've got to do, I've already drawn the graph, I've already filled in the table. Now I have to write the equation for it, okay? So, if I break down this green line, okay, this one was y equals x. This is my new one, okay? I look, what is my y-intercept? I went down 1, 2, 3, 4. So my y-intercept is now -4. All right? Now I've got to figure out my slope, all right? My slope, I went up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So my slope is 1 over 1x. Sorry, I almost wrote m. 1 over 1x. So now that is my equation of this line. 1 over 1x is just 1. And I remember I don't have to write the 1. So I just have x minus my 4 there. All right? So remember, go back to your transformations notes, because that -4 there for y-intercept just means I start at 4, okay? My slope hasn't changed, because that's all it tells me is a vertical shift down of 4 units. All right. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next page. And keep going. All right. Last two problems and we will be done. All right. So number 11 says h of x is the linear parent function of f of x equals x after the parent function is transformed to be y equals 3x. Fill in the table, draw the graph of f of x and h of x, and describe the transformation in words. Okay, so I know my original function is just always going to be y equals x, all right, which they did not graph for us. So let's go and graph that real quick. I know I start at 0, 0. I go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. So I go down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. Okay, so that is my original function there. I'm struggling. There we go. Okay, so that is my line of y equals x. Okay, my original line there. So now it says I've got to work with this transformation. It tells me that my transformation is going to be 3x. All right, so that's going to be my h of x here. It's just going to be 3 and then x. All right, remember we can just treat this as y. All right. I would prefer it if you treated it as y. So now let's break down with this equation because it gives us the equation there. All right. So now I have m. Okay. I have my slope, which is 3 over 1. So I have 3 over 1 because remember I can always put a 1 on bottom. And then my y-intercept is just going to be that plus 0 that we can add on. So I have b equals 0. So now I've got to graph this information, okay? So I start at 0, so my y-intercept is here. Then it says I go up 3 because it's positive, and I go right 1. So I go up 1, 2, 3, right 1. Up 1, 2, 3, right 1. Okay, so there are 2 points now. Now to draw my line the opposite way, I've got it, instead of going up, I go down, and instead of going right, I go left. So I go down 1, 2, 3, left 1. Go enough? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, then I go 1, 2, 3, left 1. Okay, so now I have my line. Now I've got to connect my line using my straight edge. Remember, for you guys, it works great for your ID. And that was close. I missed a little bit. Sorry. So now this equation is y equals 3x. So now let's go ahead and do our table. At 0, 0, my y value is just 0. At 1, it is going to be 3. At 2, I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to where x equals 0, and I'm writing that y value. I go to where x equals 1, I write that y value. Go to where x equals 2, and I write that y value. So it asks, what's our transformation? So our transformation is going to be, okay, if I look at my original line, okay, it's a nice little walk up a hill, all right, or a little bit of a slope is what people call it. Now, if I'm looking at this new line, okay, if I'm taking grandmother on a hike with me, all right, which I rarely do, but just in case I do take grandmother on a hike with me, this would be very difficult for my grandmother, okay? It'd be very exhausting, okay? The reason it'd be very exhausting is because it's a lot steeper, okay? When you walk up an incline, okay, it's a lot more tiring than just walking straight across the land, all right? So this becomes steeper there. All right, so now let's just double check to make sure we did everything it asked. We filled in the table, we drew the graph, our new graph is right there, and then we described the transformation, okay, which we did right there. It became more steeper. Or it became steeper, whatever you want to write, okay? So that's everything on number 11. So now number 12, let's go ahead and look at that one. It says, given the function f of x equals, f of x equals x, which is just y equals x, and h of x is f of x plus 7, okay, so it's saying this original graph is now changed. We're going up 7, okay, so I have y equals x plus 7. How does this new graph compare to our original graph? So if I compare these two, I can see that I just went up 7. Okay, my y-intercept is now 7. So here my y-intercept was 0, here my y-intercept is 7. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys real quickly just the previous example that we worked on. All right, sorry, I'm going to cover up the top one real quick. Okay, so this was number 10 from your review. All right, when our y-intercept changed, it originally was at +0 and it changed in -4. Okay, our slope didn't change. If I look here, I still have a slope of 1 on both of these. So when I changed my b, I just went down 4. So if my b is now a +7, that just means I'm going to go up 7. All right, so I will have a vertical shift up 7. Okay, it can also be called a positive shift. Okay, so instead of up, it can be called a positive shift up 7. Okay, so if you see the word positive, all right, shift, that means it's going up. All right, so that should be the whole entire review. Please make sure you study this for your test.